Welcome everyone, greetings from Las Vegas. I'm doing this as a live stream for a couple of reasons. One, to test out a new mobile streaming kit that I'm working with to make sure that you're hearing me okay. And because I'm going to be judging the live the August competition for the photo review in a couple of days time. So I want to check that the internet and everything is okay where I'm staying. Leave me a comment, let me know if you're hearing me okay. There were a couple of pieces of news come out in the last week that I wanted to do dedicated videos on, but I've been shooting like 3 or 4 clients a day whilst I've been here, and it's just been too much. But I have the morning off, so I wanted to jump in and talk to you through a couple of things. It's great news for Canon and Nikon shooters. First of all, for those of you who have been shooting for a while, can you remember the first time you became aware of third-party lenses? You know, Tamron and Sigma have been around for a great amount of time. They've been putting out all kinds of lenses, 2.8s, great primes for decades before I was even aware of them. But it was probably the 70-300 Tamron for Nikon F mount was the lens that I first, got my hands on, did a test on, and it was probably the first breakout video I did on YouTube that still gets a lot of love through to this day. Now, I'm a Nikon shooter, but I try to be honest and fair in my reviews. I've shot with everything. One of the things that Sony struggled with, being an early mover on mirrorless and full frame mirrorless, was building out the lens range, and they got so much criticism for it, as well as overheating and batteries and all of those kind of things. But the fact is, they now have had those extra years, they've got all of that right, and they're ahead of the rest of the pack. There's no arguing it in terms of the overall system of lenses. Now, one of the big turning points, I think, for people to consider them was when Tamron jumped on board and started making lenses for them. And then Sigma did as well. And then you had Seven Artisans and Venus Lauer and all of these different brands, Samyang jumping in there and making lenses. And then you have the flash manufacturers and the accessories and the third-party batteries, and all that good stuff follows when there's an obvious market. And for companies like Tamron and Sigma, and even more so Canon and Nikon and Sony, there's a big lead time to develop things. You have someone like Samyang or Lauer, who a new system gets announced, and probably in a month they can redesign the mount, the flange distance, and get it into production. So then a couple of months later, they're actually on the shelves. It can take a long time for these other companies to ramp up production and get to that point. And before they do that, they have to see that there is actually value in it for them. You can't just, if Sony's doing so great and Canon's starting to do well, are you going to roll the dice on Nikon when it's going to take production away from the other mounts? Maybe not. So I was really happy to see, and I'm not a fan of development announcements, but anyway, that Tamron have got in development now a 70-300 for the Z mount. Now, they're already making this for Sony. I'm going to guess it's going to be similar kind of money, like $500, $550. It's not actually a lens that really interests me, to be perfectly honest, but it does in terms of signaling that there are more lenses coming to the ecosystem. People were worried that Nikon were going to limit manufacturers from making autofocus lenses. I think it works in the other way, and it takes those companies that time to get it up and running to be there. So great news to see that that's coming. Other thing that I wanted to mention was that for Canon users, now this is kind of a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's great news. On the other hand, it may be a pretty clear indication that they're planning to stop production of DSLRs very soon. The Canon 1DX Mark II is $2,000 off right now. That's a huge savings, and you don't see discounts like that on flagship equipment often. it's a real signal that they're looking to clear the shelves of that stuff. There's links for both of those below if you want to check it out. That genuinely was surprising for me that they would put such a big discount on a flagship product. For those of you who are into entering the competitions, I'm going to be judging the August shots right here in about 2 days time. So I'm going to extend it a little bit for the entries. You can see all the details at mattgranger.com/live. It's free for everyone to enter and the theme is fashion. That's pretty much all I wanted to do for today, was to test that my new mobile streaming setup is working okay, and if the internet bandwidth here was going to be okay. So I will, I'm happy with what I've done now, and I'll jump in and check the stream a little bit later to make sure that it all came through okay. But whilst we're here, if anyone has a couple of questions for me, I don't want it to become an hour-long video, but if you have some questions, feel free to throw them into the chat and I will answer them for you. First off, hi to Depence, Charles, Zenphoto, Jesse, Blackhawk, Lucas, David. So Depence is saying a little bit of background buzz. That's probably the air conditioning. It's like 118 or something in Vegas at the moment. I'm worried that if I turn the AC off for the hour of my live stream in a couple of days time, the house may never get back down to temperature again. But thank you for the feedback. I'll see what I can do about that. Maybe I can get a little bit further away from the closest air vent when I'm filming. Doesn't look like we have much in the way of other questions, so thank you all for jumping in last minute. Make sure that you have subscribed. I've got some cool full live multiple camera angle photo shoots coming very soon, and you'll also be able to get notifications if you enable them for when I do go live like this. I've got this new little kit that I might show you that lets me do this kind of streaming just from my laptop. Thanks to Frederick for introducing me to this equipment. I'll go through that in a future video if anyone is interested, but glad to see that it is all working. Hope you guys are having a great, what day is it? Thursday, and I'll see you all later.